Hey singers, welcome back to the weekly warm-up. This is the third video in our tuning series. If you didn't catch the first and second videos, I will have them linked below in the description box. But today we're talking about the way we think about our music and singing within the context of a scale so that we can sing better in tune. So I know that not everybody who is seeing this video has had a lot of training in solfege, those syllables, do, re, mi, fa, sol, but I do suspect that almost everyone who's watching this video is familiar with the sound of a major scale. So this idea of do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, whether you know the syllables or not, that sound is probably very much in your ears and in your heads. And I want to talk today about how you can use that innate knowledge, that real familiarity with the scale on a cellular level to help you sing more in tune. Here's the idea. When we are singing and we're not thinking about a given melody or a little fragment of notes within a context of a scale, we're just singing the contour. We're just singing up and down. And of course, we may have to be figuring out within there, whole step, half step, minor third, perfect fourth, whatever. But you're singing kind of in an up and down without the real anchor of the key or the scale. And here's how I'd like for you to think about it. Singing in that way, by contour and without a scale, is like if I showed you a totally blank piece of paper and said, here we are in Washington, D.C., and to go to Baltimore, I want you to go north and a little bit east. Your chance of finding Baltimore is really very, very minimal. However, if I showed you a map that has all the roads drawn on it so that you can see the road to go to Baltimore, then if I told you, go to Baltimore by following that road north and a little bit east, it would be a piece of cake. And that is what scales are. They are collections of knowledge. In the sort of cognitive science world, they call this chunks of memory or chunks of information that we sort of have collected with larger knowledge structures so that they exist in context. That's what a scale does for you, is that it implants or it sort of gives you a foundation of the spacing between the pitches so that you don't have to think, oh, it's whole step, half step, moving up the scale. That is sort of innate. And so you can think do, re, mi, fa, instead of here's a whole step, and then a half step. You can hear there, I'm just sort of feeling my way, and each little step is sort of existing on its own without context. Doing it in a scale is much more simple. Here's an example of where you might put this to use. Last week at my church job, we were singing the first Noel. And I realized here that it just goes up and down and up and down and up and down. But when it does, it's almost always going up and down on the notes sol, la, ti, do, and then back down. So if I was going to sing the first Noel in this key, it would be in solfege. Mi, re, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, ti, la, sol, la, ti, do, ti, la, sol, la, ti, do, mi, sol, fa, mi. So there, when I'm going up and down and up and down and up and down, I know that you can see that it's the same notes over and over again. But if you're just thinking, go up, go down, go up, go down, or if you're following that old advice that I totally hate, which is think sharp on your way up and tiny steps on the way down. Well, if you're treading that path over and over again, then you may end up the first Noel the angels did see was to certain poor shepherds in fields as they lay. Now I'm really sharp, and it's because I was trying to sing in tune by having big steps on the way up and small steps on the way down. Now, I will cover this and many more ideas that I think are sort of bad advice around tuning, but the idea here is that if I'm thinking within the context of that scale, and I know where do, my home base note is, and I know where that skeleton of do, mi, sol, do, the most important notes in the scale are, it's very easy for me to feel like I'm locked in and I can just sort of navigate around the scale without having to constantly agonize is this note in tune? Is this step big enough? Is that step small enough? Because I'm not having to do so much math. So my advice to you today, if you want to sing more in tune, is if you are able to figure it out, and there is a lot of music that is simple enough to figure out this way, apply the knowledge that you have of the scale. Look at that key signature. I have a video and a worksheet about how to figure out what key you're in. Figure out what key you're in and just sing in the context of that key. Give yourself that roadmap, and I suspect that you will have a lot of benefits to your tuning. Thanks so much for singing with me today. I really appreciate your time. If you liked this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and maybe check out the other videos in the series on tuning. We have one more next week, which is the don'ts of tuning. So I hope you'll be back for that one. And in the meanwhile, thanks for practicing.